The Senate floor turned tense the moment Patty Murray began. Her words weren't cautious, they cut like knives. She listed corruption, vanished grants, and whistleblowers punished for speaking the truth. Across the table, Pam Bondi tried to answer, but what came out was not law, not facts, just blind loyalty.
Attorney General Bondi, we are in a deeply alarming moment where law and order is being replaced by chaos and corruption and really whatever Trump wants. And your department's independence and its capacity to do its job have eroded before our eyes. We have seen respected career officials who've been fired for doing their job. Thousands more are being pushed out with your buyouts and the threat of mass firings, and entire divisions are being eliminated, and grants have been canceled illegally. So I have questions about how and why those decisions are being made, and importantly, whether you're adequately resourcing DOJ to do its job. But before I turn to my questions, I do want to raise my alarm about the troubling pattern of trampling basic rights. Detainees, including U.S. citizens, being shipped overseas without any due process. Elected officials are detained for conducting oversight, and a U.S. senator gets tackled to the ground for asking questions at a press conference. This is not the country I know or the values I believe in, and I hope that colleagues on both sides of the aisle will agree with that. Now, to the questions. Yesterday, and I know that Senator Van Hollen raised this issue, a former DOJ attorney filed a protected whistleblower complaint accusing Deputy AG Emil Beauvais and senior DOJ leadership of defying court orders, including through, quote, lack of candor, deliberate delay, and disinformation, unquote. The complaint also accuses this administration of firing the whistleblower for, quote, telling the truth to the court. These allegations are deeply concerning. Now, I know you said that you can't discuss the case, but can you confirm that you agree that this administration should follow court orders?
Patty Murray didn't debate Pam Bondi. She exposed her. The hearing turned into a detailed breakdown of how the Justice Department was being hollowed out in real time. Murray outlined the cuts to public safety programs that funded investigations into drug trafficking, foster care support, and forensic exams for sexual assault cases. She described watchdog officials forced out of their jobs, thousands of career staff pressured to take buyouts, and entire divisions dissolved. Joseph Tyrrell, the DOJ's senior ethics official, who was responsible for integrity and oversight inside the department, was dismissed without a clear explanation. Several staff members working on special prosecutor teams or sensitive cases were also pushed out or pressured to resign.
The Department of Justice is supposed to play a vital role in defending our Constitution, upholding the rule of law, and keeping the American people safe. Unfortunately, it's currently failing on all these fronts, and this budget request will make a bad situation even worse. We are witnessing a level of lawlessness from this administration that is unprecedented in scale and scope. Indeed, when asked, President Trump said he didn't know whether he was required to comply with the Constitution of the United States. Instead of defending the rule of law, DOJ attorneys are being deployed to aid and abet in lawbreaking. Like just yesterday, Madam Attorney General, when the administration took, I believe, the unprecedented step of suing all the Maryland Federal District Court judges because of actions they took to protect habeas corpus and the constitutional right of due process. To date, the administration has faced nearly 300 legal challenges in federal courts. There are currently in place a huge number of preliminary injunctions and temporary restraining orders issued by judges appointed by presidents of both parties, including appointed by President Trump. At the same time, patriotic career civil servants have been fired for upholding their constitutional oaths. In January, the then acting Attorney General fired more than a dozen prosecutors simply because they had been assigned to work with Special Counsel Jack Smith. And dozens of others have also been wrongfully terminated.
Some grant recipients were left without any explanation, and it remains unclear whether all of the stranded funding can be restored. The Office on Violence Against Women, created by Congress to stand independently, was targeted for consolidation into a bureaucracy that strips it of authority and resources. These actions were not isolated mistakes, but a clear pattern that Murray laid bare for everyone watching. Special programs that support victims are partially funded through these grants. If the funding disappears, those services may vanish as well. The question question echoes through America. How can this possibly be justified? Pam Bondi's responses revealed the state of the department under her leadership. She admitted to having no knowledge of specific grants that had been eliminated. She avoided addressing the whistleblower complaint that accused senior officials of defying court orders and spreading disinformation. Instead of confirming that she would stop misconduct inside her department, she chose to voice loyalty to colleagues named in the allegations. Her words did not acknowledge the reality of disappearing protections or silenced truth-tellers. They emphasized allegiance to individuals rather than responsibility to the law. Previously, a whistleblower dropped a bombshell. It came from Erez Ruvini, a former DOJ attorney who filed an explosive report. His accusation? The Deputy Attorney General, Emil Bove, had urged subordinates to flat-out ignore court orders. In his complaint, he spoke of lack of candor, deliberate delay, and disinformation. Words that sent shockwaves through Washington. The timing was no accident. Filed right before Bondi's testimony, ensuring the allegations landed squarely on the table. Senators seized the chance to confront her as cameras rolled and the public held its breath. Was this proof of systematic abuse inside the department or a carefully staged ambush? One thing was certain. The tension in that room skyrocketed, and everyone knew this was no ordinary hearing.
I'm honored to appear before you today to present the President's fiscal year 2026 budget for DOJ. I look forward to working with you to ensure continued support for the department and our many critical missions. President Trump's 2026 budget proposal takes $34 billion for the Department of Justice. The money will support federal law enforcement as well as our state, local, and tribal law enforcement partners. My primary objective as Attorney General is to return the department to its core mission of keeping Americans safe and vigorously enforcing the law. This budget will allow us to continue to do just that. Since January 20th, we have dismantled deadly fentanyl networks across our nation. We prosecuted MS-13 and TDA members using terrorism and RICO charges. We've seized thousands of illegal guns from cartels and extradited key cartel leaders into U.S. prisons. Last month, the FBI arrested 205 child predators in one single operation, and the DEA executed the largest fentanyl bust in the history of our country across 4 states. We've also surged FBI resources to investigate thousands of violent crime committed against American Indian and Alaska Native people. These are just a few examples of what we've achieved just thus far in such a short time. This budget will allow us to continue our crucial work. We've also led the charge to enforce our immigration laws, rebuild our immigration system after 4 years of chaos, and help secure our nation's borders. We must guarantee that our laws allow us to process, hold, and remove those who enter our country illegally. Our U.S. attorneys continue to effectively work with law enforcement at all levels to investigate and prosecute the increasing volume of immigration-related criminal offenses. Additionally, the President and I have established and reinvigorated 3 task forces to enforce the administration's priority. Homeland Security Task Force is enhancing federal and state local law enforcement throughout our country. Joint Task Force Alpha will continue to specifically target human trafficking and human smuggling networks that took root while our border was wide open, Senator Van Hollen. And Joint Task Force Vulcan will continue successful efforts to arrest and prosecute members of TDA and MS-13. We are also committed to making America safe again by reducing recidivism. The Bureau of Prisons has suffered years of mismanagement, lack of funding, and low morale. Throughout my confirmation process, BOP came up in every single meeting, regardless of party affiliation. The President's budget proposal will address critical staffing shortages, enhance staff retention, and deliver positive changes to a system that has long needed improvements. The resources made available through President Trump's proposal will also empower the department to continue fighting our war on fentanyl. Since January 2025, DEA has seized 41.5 million fentanyl pills and 4,470 kilos of fentanyl powder. It's a historic rate, but it's not enough. We won't rest until this poison is off our streets. And finally, the budget continues my commitment to find savings in the department, reduce inefficiencies, and deliver value to the American taxpayer. In 2026, the department will merge components that work in overlapping areas and make our law enforcement and our grant-making efforts more effective. We'll emerge from this as a leaner organization, better equipped to make American people safe from threats at home and abroad. Chairman Moran, Chairman Collins, Chairwoman Collins, Ranking Member Murray, Ranking Member Van Hollen, it is my pleasure to highlight our efforts and be good stewards of our resources. I'm working diligently to restore confidence and integrity to the department and each of its components. Thank you for your continued support of the department's financial needs and the opportunity to present our budget request. I look forward to working with you, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Murray kept pressing. She demanded answers about why rape kits and forensic testing programs had lost funding. She asked why survivors of assault were being left without resources while entire communities lost access to violence prevention initiatives. She highlighted the fact that Congress had codified protections for the Office on Violence Against Women more than 2 decades ago. Yet the department now sought to erase that independence by changing the law. The administration's budget proposals for 2026 explicitly include a 29% cut to OVW funding, along with a proposal to eliminate the legal requirement that the OVW operate as a separate and distinct office. A group of 17 state coalitions has filed a lawsuit to block the implementation of the restrictions on grants under the OVW. Bondi did not commit to maintaining the office. She insisted it would be absorbed, despite the law requiring its separate existence. Legal experts warn that such a move may not withstand scrutiny. Some argue the plan directly conflicts with the very statutes Congress enacted decades ago. Others believe the attempt is not just unlawful, it is a deliberate assault on the safeguards that victims have relied on for generations. However, in July 2025, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. rejected a preliminary injunction that sought to prevent nearly $800 million in DOJ grants from being entirely rescinded. The judge ruled that the plaintiffs, the organizations, lacked legal grounds to block the cancellations, citing lack of jurisdiction or constitutional violation. Who will stand up for these victims now that the government has abandoned them? The exchange left no doubt about the reality facing the Justice Department. Key protections were gone, and leadership was unwilling to defend them. Whistleblowers who tried to uphold the law were punished instead of protected. Critical funding that supported survivors and communities disappeared with no explanation. Oversight was brushed aside. Loyalty was given more importance than law. Senator Patty Murray revealed the extent of that collapse on live camera. The picture was clear. A department stripped of independence, guided by political allegiance, and unable to assure the public that justice still functions.